And I have found that the best takedown of Star Trek Picard, God damn it, is to recount it scene by scene to an... Sorry, 1 second. I'm gonna visit some guys. Yeah, there you go. Is to recount it scene by scene to an increasingly incredulous audience of people familiar with Star Trek: The Next Generation. I do that here, but I already have like a 10-part Picard series that does that. It's called Papa Picard, Captain of the Subscription Service Enterprise. It's free to look at, listen to on my Patreon. So what am I saying? I could write a whole essay on every scene of Star Trek Picard and still be haunted by the idea that I left some shit unstirred. This is Morning Perfect Base. I am Van Velding. I'm going to work my perfect base a little bit each month. And after a few months, we are going to see how much progress I've made. Today, I am still on the Banana Viking server, just chilling out, visiting some fellow... Oh, look, that's my friends. They're going to... It's, boop. Isix and a new arrival on our server, Voxel. Those vines are admittedly in a bad position. Yeah. Like the shutters are great. They keep zombie pigment in. You just got to get used to them. People don't expect them. I kind of call them an iris. Yeah. See, I would just like to make that point to people. I think of it like an iris in Stargate. Anyway, so I am also going to hack at Picard like he is a mesa, and I am building a terracotta dong to the heavens. So first off, sorry, I just want to be hospitable. Okay? I just want to be like, when people visit my base, I want them to have a good impression. I make all these things so that people can use them. So people can, like, I farm things and people can take it. And so I just want people to be at home. Despite the huge death drops. Many, many, many huge death drops over there. Sorry, let me just focus on typing for other people. Okay. So, okay, when you have a series called Star Trek Picard, starring the actor who played a fictional character, Jean-Luc Picard, in fairly popular television show Star Trek: The Next Generation, I think it's fair that we expect the character of Jean-Luc Picard. And if you're reading this, you would have every right to skip down to Section B. Read the last paragraph of Section A to confirm. God damn, that is scary just looking at it. To consider. Okay, read the last paragraph of Section. Oh, God damn. It's hard. It's hard to do two things at once. It's like super hard. I also want to kind of, like, it is, like, that's the deadliest foe is gravity. Confirm you got the point and then move on. But this is an internet video, so instead, let's take a beat to consider why the internet's pivot to video a few years back was stupid and deserved to torpedo internet content back in the aughts. So let us consider, nay behold, the Doofenshmirtz-inator. It is an idea. It is an event in a story, either on-screen or off-screen, that can turn any character into Phineas and Ferb's Heinz Doofenshmirtz. Like, you put a puppy onto a helicopter, and the helicopter, it starts flying away. And then a member of the Viet Cong jumps out of a nearby bush and blows up the helicopter with a rocket launcher. The main character drops to their knees and screams, "Pupper!" And then you smash cut to 6 months later, main character is now Heinz Doofenshmirtz trying to take over the tri-state area. I mean, it doesn't have to be a puppy in a helicopter. It could be a kitten in a sedan, 2 baby wolves, and an ATV. a nest of baby birds, and a teacup ride. The possibilities are limitless. What matters is traumatic event, drop to knees, smash cut, Heinz Doofenshmirtz. I don't even need to see it happen. I understand that a character gets thrown into the Doofenshmirtz-inator and bam, Captain America has a weird accent and is capturing Perry the Platypus. So, I accept that we have put Jean-Luc Picard through the Doofenshmirtz-inator. We even see it, I guess. We don't establish his pre-Doofenshmirtz-inator personality as being the one from TNG, nor do we have scenes contrasting that pre-Doofenshmirtz-inator personality with the new person who emerges and starts constructing asexual yet clearly romantic death traps for a sapient teal monotreme secret agent. But an event happens in a flashback and we're told this changes how he acts, right? And I am trying to give a detached historical perspective, but I wish they had just rolled out a literal Doofenshmirtz-inator. Because Jean-Luc Picard from Star Trek The Next Generation, that guy, there we go, is the reason that we're watching Star Trek Picard. We understand, like, you need to have that character there, like that character. Not Heinz Doofenshmirtz in a sad story about a few thousand Romulans on a planet without supernova insurance, and then Viet Cong pop out with the supernova and blows it up. Like, Picard drops to his knees and screams, "Romulus!" And Quark's brother says, yes. And then Picard says, "I said Romulus, not Rom." And smash cut to 6 months later. What I'm saying is that Picard was an intelligent, educated, principled man who was generally aware of his own actions. He was aware of his talents, but wasn't arrogant, and didn't have an inflated ego. He wasn't prone to sulking. We assumed that the principles he espoused were principles he lived up to with a few missteps. Old school Picard was a bit of a Mary Sue, but he was also a generally competent person who understood the importance of doing the right thing whenever he could, however he could. So instead, he tries to change Federation policy by threatening to resign, the equivalent of one person driving less to stop global warming phenomena driven largely by industrial consumption. That stupid plan doesn't work. He resigns and then does nothing to further the cause over which he threatened to resign. He just gives up. In that scenario, in that stupid scenario, what a story does is it gives us glimpses of the character we recognize as Picard as he moves back to that character again. Like, we expect him to get over his fuck-ups, reverse the Doofenshmirtz-ination, and get back in the saddle. Which he does not do. Even in our final act, he gives a heck of a Picard speech, but it's a contest between the story telling us how cynical and manipulative Picard speeches are, and our own common sense telling us how out of touch Picard is, to see which one can ruin that moment the fastest. I cannot emphasize this enough. After showing Picard bumbling around the galaxy at Mr. McGoovian levels for 8 of 10 episodes, we finally get a Picard speech that is immediately rejected by all parties present on every textual and metatextual level. I mean, for those folks who are waiting for him to get back in the saddle, he takes the saddle, walks up to a horse, and then beats the horse to death with that saddle. It is as baffling as it is unpleasant to watch. He does a few Picard speeches, or attempts them.
Shut the fuck up.
And they are all immediately undermined by the stories being foolishly idealistic, empty rhetoric, ineffective, or some combination of the above, which would be consistent within a theme of rejecting the episodic nature of TNG and its clear, identifiable moral scenarios. I wouldn't agree with that. But like Man of Steel, which I eventually accepted for its own thing, I am never going to get over Man of Steel. Like, if you're thinking that right now, I'm never going to get over it. So, if it had committed to its own premise, I could have respected its execution. You know, like, if a show called Star Trek Picard took as one of its central ideas to communicate to its viewers that Star Trek The Next Generation's ability to understand social conflicts, empathize with all parties, and then still be able to elucidate and hew to its own principles. You know, if they decided to communicate to us that was faggy, then they'd be doing it pretty fucking well. Except, like, then we have an unironic Picard speech in episode 8 or so. It's a bad one. I mean, better than the one in Violations, worse than the one in Imaginary Friends. It thinks it's the Picard speech from Drumhead, but it's just a set of principles issued with some faculty by... Oh man, this is nice. It's nice amphitheater. Not functional, but I like it. I like the feel of it. I like how it turned out. I'm proud of this build. It's a set of principles delivered with some faculty by Patrick Stewart, but it's not connected to any of the issues at hand. It doesn't distill any of the principles underlying the conflict shown on screen. No one is enlightened or informed, least of all the audience. The end result is that a character is so confused that they decide to let the plot keep moving forward. It is a textbook broken Aesop. And so clearly what this series thinks a Picard speech is. You know, well-delivered virtue signaling while being delivered with all the sincerity and narrative heft this train wreck can muster. And as a disclaimer, I'm using virtue signaling to apply to folks who understand what values they're supposed to act out, but who do not understand why those virtues have value. You know, the behavioral model of folks who originally thought of the term virtue signaling. I mean, if psychological zombies for human decency works better for you than psychological zombies for human decency. And in case using heft and train wreck in the same sentence gives a false impression, let me amend that last part further to say, delivered with all the sincerity and narrative heft this cloud of gently floating feathers can muster. We're dealing with a Picard who is ignorant, not very smart, and either exceptionally ignorant, stupidly idealistic, or just aggressively manipulative. I saw Patrick Stewart answering to the name of Jean-Luc Picard while occasionally drinking Earl Grey tea, but the character I watched this series for possessed qualities. And when you remove those qualities, don't show me how those qualities changed, and or don't bring those qualities back, then I won't care about the character. I don't feel the connection between those two. Worse, you know, I will feel slightly deceived, which is a bad feeling. And if I paid money to see that, I would feel like you deceived me to get money. Because you deceived me to get money. Like, I don't want to focus on my specific feeling, but if my dad turned on a show called Walker, Texas Ranger, which he does, and he saw Trevette say, "Well, Walker, what do you think?" And then Cordell Walker turns around and goes, "I don't know, Trevette. These guys look pretty tough, but I think I can take them with a roundhouse kick. Yeah, you know, I lost a lot of things after Cece died in that Ski-Doo explosion 6 months ago, but my roundhouse kick is pretty good." I think my dad would be angry, and I believe that anger would be justified. But if the earnest... Isaac has done some nice stuff with this place. But if the earnest delivery of a shit-ass Picard speech can't tell us what this series is about, then what is this series about? Well, it's about protagonists murdering evil cartoon people while mumbling about how all this murder makes them sad and they'll never do it again. Their voices rising towards the end because they have to speak over the beeps from a dump truck, backing up to pour a fresh load of evil cartoon people that need to be murdered on us. It's about Picard being in a tense competition for most useless, barely mobile, wittering British sidekick with C-3PO and fucking losing because Picard can't read Sith, doesn't have R2-D2's phone number, and is not an electrical conductor. I mean, spoilers, I guess. There's a message about not passing the Patriot Act, or maybe the Muslim ban. Again, when your army of synthetics created as subsentient slave races go rogue and murder an entire world, maybe it is actually time to put a hold on everything while you figure out what's going on. And the deal is that the Federation at no time ever figures out what's going on. They ask 0 questions and ban all synthetics. Even synthetic brains used to treat silicon-based viruses that could save lives. Like, I don't know what the morality is on creating a thinking brain, which is used solely as a bomb to treat a silicon-based virus in the kids of the elite Beseld class of true citizens. But all banning Sorry. But banning all synthetics and terminating the lives of all currently existing synthetics without ever asking why this is necessary can't be too many steps above that. We accept that the citizens of the Federation are just down with the synth ban after one measly space 9/11. As is so often the case with Star Trek, Federation policy is tabled and debated by a few main characters, but we stubbornly refuse. Okay, we refuse to discuss the political and social fallout. So we assume that the Federation citizenry at large is just down with this for the same reason we were down with the Patriot Act after 9/11, and why so many bigoted idiots want shit like the Muslim ban now. Because the average citizens of the Federation are apparently fucking adults with an average reading level at that of a 21st century 8th grader. So when Picard gets the synth planet in touch with the Federation via standard first contact protocols, and we establish normal relations and independence guarantees, etc., we get one sentence that says, hey, synth ban was overturned, no big. The cow-like masses of the Federation, a galactic superpower which has shaped the course of events for literally countless billions of sapient life forms, just accept all of this with no cultural or political resistance at all. Put your hand down. I see you, fan of Star Trek Picard, who is hate watching this to no doubt post a scathing rebuttal comment that I will not address, but will passive-aggressively fade. Put it down, I'll get to it. So as far as the average Federation citizen goes, synths banned? Okay, they were scary. Legal now? Okay, that's fine too. As Vincent Vega once said, you gotta have an opinion, man. Look, Soji has an arc where she works through self-doubt and self-loathing and coming to terms with the truth of her existence, but that doesn't count as the journey that any one character needs to take from rationally believing synths are a threat to being down with it. Rios has a moment, but it comes and goes like Rios said. Let's not finish that. It can count, but ideally a thread like that would be based on his general beliefs and ignorance, be established early, and then be overcome when he gets to know Soji, or when Soji makes an unforced gesture to help Rios. Instead, Soji takes over a ship. Picard goes on about how open-mindedness is good. Alright, I gotta be a little careful here. It's mostly well-lit path, mostly... I say that as I descend into the dark bridge. We really gotta tune this path up a little bit. Don't want to fuck with that guy. I'm just gonna keep on moving. So instead, Soji takes over his ship. Picard goes on about how open-mindedness is super great, you guys, apropos of fucking nothing. And Rios just relents and trusts Soji? Like, what? She took his ship from him for no reason and with no difficulty. Possibly because he'd rather have a synth steal his ship in space than listen to Picard say random Star Trek things, trademark, that this series feels it needs to tell us are good without ever showing us how they are good. Our ostensible core issue is, can we live with people who are different from us? But the question Star Trek Picard asks with synth is, goddamn. Okay, I just need to my health is way too low for this to be a good idea. Alright, we'll just run. Just serpentine. Serpentine. Yep. Parkour. Parkour serpentine. Serpentine parkour. Parkour serpentine. Get in the door. Well, fuck that up. I might just die now. Oh, shit. Die. Die, guys. Die. Okay. Alright, I got it under control now. I got it under control. Oh, God. Fuck me. Fuck. Oh, shit. Fuck. Oh, God, no. No, I'm too young to die. I'm too pretty. You can't kill me. Keep getting sunlocked, you dick. Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna eat baked potatoes. Our ostensible core issue is, can we live with people who are different from us? But the question Star Trek Picard asks with synths is, can we live with people who are superior to us in every way, have all of our emotional flaws, and also can at any time take half a weekend with 3 friends to build a tower with a button that will summon the Reapers from Mass Effect, who will kill all of us and leave them alive? I consider that second question to be somewhat thornier and poorly mapped to the first one. And the series answer is, if terminally ill people make futile sacrifices on behalf of our new robot overlords, maybe they won't push the button that summons the Reapers from Mass Effect, who will kill us all and leave them alive. It's nuts. It's like I don't even get it. Like, it's a slightly less dour lesson, in my opinion. It's more transactional than sex on a WASP couple's 25th anniversary. If we just need to teach Rios or Commodore O that synths are good to get some other benefit, then that would be fine. But scaling those bigoted views up to reflect the views of the entire Federation gives the impression that we'd be going up against a larger obstacle if we wish to overcome those attitudes. But at the end of the story, that policy is reversed easily. But at the end of the story, the policy is reversed easily and off-screen just because. And popular attitudes against synths are barely an inconvenience. So the second part of what did we learn on the show tonight, Craig, was the Romulan thing, where the Federation citizens were dubious about saving Romulans. Then Space 9/11 happened, and then the Federation citizenry refused to save the Romulans. And to appease my eager hate-watching beaver here, we do talk a little bit about the politics of it. Worlds are willing to leave the Federation over it. Unlike the synth thing, which was a manufactured problem which directed misplaced feelings of fear towards synths and therefore is a lie, a contrivance which allowed us to believe that we can reverse the ban, the Romulan thing is an unforced error on the Federation's part, the inside jobbiness of Space 9/11's aside. I mean that sincerely. In a show that Patrick Stewart touted as some sort of balm to irrational reactionary political movements like Brexit, Space 9/11 isn't just an inside job. It is a conspiracy by high-ranking traitors within the government to manipulate real citizens by fear-mongering. It is the deep state, it is real, and only older citizens who haven't left their houses for 15 years can find out the truth. That's another lesson of the show, I guess. Another one is the Romulans. So their star is going to explode. Picard is trying to save them. I mean, some of them, like 800 million or 800,000, I forget. I haven't been able to Google it easily, and I'm not rewatching the show for it, so... I mean, it's not 8 billion, which would be a reasonable number. Perhaps even small for the capital of an authoritarian government which possesses enough worlds to project power across a quadrant. Maybe the Romulans are saving some of their own people, and we're just saving the lower classes and common people they feel aren't worth saving. You know, showing the aggressive disdain that authoritarian power structures hold for their own people, and the compassion the Federation has for all life, and the willingness to save the most wretched that makes them the good guys. But one of the first people they rescue is a Romulan senator. And being that the Romulan Empire is based on, Rome, senators are pretty important people. So if the Romulans aren't saving their own fucking senators, then the entirety of the Romulan Imperial Navy must have been preoccupied saving the proconsul and his goddamn cats. Unless they vanished into the... Okay, more or less in focus. So, the people of the Federation are pretty cool with abandoning the people of Romulus, who were our allies in Space Napoleonic Wars 5 years ago. But the real Napoleonic Wars still gave us World War I, so maybe that's normal. Regardless, we abandon the Romulans, or some Romulans, and Picard thinks this is bad and tries to save some. And everyone else in the Federation is reluctant to do this, but they do anyway until Space 9/11-17 Alpha. And then they don't want to, so we just let them die, and thousands or millions of Romulans are hit with the universe's Control Z in the form of a faster-than-light supernova that's destroying multiple worlds, and according to the wiki, even bigger because it ate planets. A stellar event getting more energy by eating planets is like if Popeye got strong by eating canned Egyptian mummies. I mean, goddamn, if there's a hierarchy of things that will kill your brain cells, it's got to be alcohol, paint thinner fumes, drowning to death, and then reading about the Hobus goddamn supernova. So we fast forward 15 years. Hands down, no questions can be asked about this time jump because Star Trek Picard is barely fucking answering them. The Romulans aren't atomized by negligence and Hollywood's ignorance of junior high science. They are all poor dirt farmers. Their planet exists under a yellow filter usually reserved for those equatorial, non-American countries. You know, the ones we like to think are well served with the visual reminder that they're poor and dirty. And they're racist now, with Romulans only signs on their filthy bars, where they no doubt drink stupid, shitty, tepid Romulan ale that will give visitors a wicked case of Tomalak's revenge. They then try to murder Picard for evacuating them, and also for being a member of the Federation when the Federation stopped evacuating them, and also, presumably, for their being unable to form a functioning society. What I'm saying is that we are presented with the people we saved as unable to govern themselves, work-shy, and possessed of a general irrational anger at a first-world tourist who's given them so many other really good reasons to be angry at him. These are the folks whose intrinsic worth as people drove Picard to tanking his career. And yeah, there are... God damn it. There are good Romulans, the ones who have value to Picard personally and are loyal to him and immediately sublimate their ambitions and drives for his own. Picard's housekeepers and personal assassins are good Romulans. Literal house Romulans. Every other Romulan is violent, irrational, deceitful, or all three of those things. Oh, and then also, Romulans have infiltrated the highest levels of Starfleet and orchestrated the deaths of thousands of Federation citizens and caused the death of all those atomized Romulans, while, I guess, never using their vast influence within the Federation to push for aid to the relocated Romulans. But that doesn't matter, because those spies are able to produce a fleet of literally hundreds of Romulan warships in order to commit a genocide anyway, so maybe the Romulans aren't cash-strapped. Our story is missing a scene where a sensible person turns to Picard and says, "Hey, the public broadcast in episode 1 has you talking about how the Romulan people are worth a month's worth of the Federation's labor, but our recent experiences make me think they're worth the time it takes to transcribe their deep culture and fascinating tools into an archaeology book entitled Historical Civilizations That Were Dicks and Won't Be Missed." So then Picard can say, look, these are people who've lost everything. Some are using the scraps of their empire not to care for those citizens, but to cling to a past of preeminence and regional domination. Others are trying to rebuild but have nothing to rebuild with. You can't drop people on a planet with nothing but the clothes on their back and a month of rations and expect them to create a functioning society. The Federation owed them more than that, and while that support and security would obviously cost less than a full-scale evacuation, we didn't do that, even though it's in the common interest of both the Federation and a cabal of Romulan spies running Starfleet who ostensibly would like to preserve the remains of their entire government and society and way of life in a way that doesn't contradict either their convoluted plot about synthetics or presumed ambivalence about reforming some kind of Romulan empire. But fuck me, I guess. We needed some demonstration of how Romulans, normal, everyday Romulans, may not act like us or provide us with some benefit physically, but are still people with their own perspective who care for one another and hew to their own principles. We say it in a broad and facile way, but we never demonstrate this. Again, for a show that fucking loathes Picard speeches, it tells us a lot of the moral lessons we're supposed to take away without ever demonstrating them. Trust us, these Romulans deserve to live, Star Trek Picard says, and I was on board with that by default, but then Star Trek Picard made a hard sell that they didn't, and I was pretty certain of the point it was trying to make, but baffled at how fucking awful it was at making it. Also, there's a lesson about dying in there. It's thrown in at the very end, and apropos of nothing. I mean, someone is dying and asked to die, and then someone comes back from the dead, and not to lean too hard on the spoilers, but you can guess who, even if you've never seen the series, wink wink. But all it takes... goddamn lag. Okay. But all of that takes place against a backdrop of a lot of worn-out cliches about accepting death just so we can return our story to exactly where it was before. Like, exactly the same. We spent a whole scene explaining how all this death and life shit puts us exactly back where we started the series. X is dead, Y is old. It's all the same. And we talk about how it's all the same, and we reassure everyone that it's all this. Look, you could claim a Carpe Diem lesson from that, but I don't buy it. The entire series is about... Okay, well we're going to talk about that in 2 weeks' time, okay? Until next week, rest assured I'm going to kill all these dudes, and you should keep learning and keep asking questions.